Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the simple and AI-powered rewards and recognition platform for employee engagement.
Finding the right talent can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. That's where social recruiting comes in. Using the power of social media to identify, attract, and engage top talent. Social recruiting allows HR professionals to tap into vast networks, connect with potential candidates in real time, and showcase their company culture to a broader audience. It's a game changer that turns traditional recruitment on its head, offering a dynamic and interactive approach to finding the perfect fit for your team. So everyone, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Vantage Influencers Podcast. I'm Sanjeevani Saikia, your host, and today we have a fascinating topic to delve into: social recruiting, leveraging social media to find talent. For this episode, joining us is Aditya Pal Singh, a seasoned talent acquisition leader who will share insights into how social media is transforming the landscape of talent acquisition. So let's start our conversation. Hi, Aditya. Thank you so much for joining in today's conversation.
Hi, great to be here. Looking forward.
Before we dive into our topic, social recruiting, leveraging social media to find talent, could you share a bit about your professional journey with us? We'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your platform. I've been in the talent acquisition space for about good 23, 24 years. Initially worked in consulting companies, and then quite a bit of my career split between two companies, which is Accenture and Informatica. So I have a good experience of hiring for large scale and then also for product companies. So these two have been my largest stints of scaled organizations. I had looked at building talent acquisition from a future workforce standpoint. So, it's been a very interesting journey for me, and I like the space where I am, and I've been in talent acquisition all through and through. So great space and a very exciting space. This is the space in HR which is the most fast moving and always changing. So there's never a dull day in talent acquisition.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I really appreciate it. Now, with your permission, I'd like to begin today's conversation on the topic.
Sure, let's go ahead.
Great. So looking into the evolution of recruitment strategies, it's crucial to understand the basics.
Yeah.
Social recruiting has become a buzzword, but many still wonder how it truly stands apart from traditional methods. So to kickstart the conversation, can you explain what social recruiting is and how it differs from traditional recruiting methods?
Got it. So I'll reverse it in a little different way. When I started recruiting, the traditional way of recruiting was, at least in India, it was the newspaper, which was your Wednesday logins, which used to come in, and people used to refer to that for job openings, and they would go to various forums to go ahead and look for jobs and apply to them or reach out to companies directly.
Yes.
It's changed a lot. It has just evolved a lot from there to what it is now. The technology is the biggest change which has happened, right? And if you look at, it's as simple as that. You look at people using your landlines to today using mobile and not even thinking about a landline. I don't think any of us have landlines anywhere right now, at least. So it has changed a lot to what it is today, as you asked about on social media recruiting. The various platforms have come into place, and these are the places where the companies are in a position to hire future talent from a hiring perspective. They also look at these various sites like LinkedIn, your Naukri, your Monster, Facebook, Instagram, all of these social medias to go ahead and attract the right talent in, and also build your future talent pool from these places. And the plus point of having such a wider scale, and this thing is you are able to touch with a wider pool of talent pool across, and this is not only in that country, it's across the world. So it has just brought everything together, a lot of information together, and easily accessible. So we are living in a world where things are moving at a much faster pace as compared to what it was earlier. So it's become easier from an employer perspective. It has become easier from a candidate perspective of looking for jobs and looking for the right candidate. And so a lot of evolution, but the right place to be in now.
True. Again, leveraging social media for recruitment brings numerous advantages, from reaching a broader audience to engaging with potential candidates more interactively.
Yeah.
However, I'm sure it's not without its hurdle.
Yeah.
So, Aditya, please help us understand what are some of the key benefits of using social media platforms for recruiting, and what challenges might companies face when implementing these strategies?
Yeah, so as the first point you also spoke about, one, it gives you an opportunity to touch a wider base of talent pool plus a diverse talent pool, right? And
Yeah.
also you can build your potential talent pool accordingly. So, much wider, diverse, and active talent pool. Also, you have the ability to touch upon the passive candidates where you reel them in with the kind of work which your organization does, what's the kind of brand does your organization start, and it also helps people think about your organization not at that period of time but maybe from a future perspective. It creates brand awareness. It gives opportunities for organizations to showcase their brand. It is very cost effective from an organization perspective today. It's very easy for you and me to go ahead and put a job posting up on any of the social media sites, and for free, as simple as that, for a lot of handles where we can put up things for free. So it's very cost effective, and it fosters a place where you can go ahead and hire people across, right? During COVID, we realized that work can be done online from home and across the world, right? And that's the best place for us to be in. Now, obviously, with all these benefits are also something which you need to be aware of from a hiring perspective, right? There is a lot of information overload, right? Everybody has the ability to go ahead and post. So there's a lot of information overload. So as a candidate or as an individual, you should be able to sift through what is relevant for you and what is not relevant to you, right? Also, brand consistency. While organizations are very particular about what they put in, but a lot of people may not be, right? So you will have different point of view about the brand and every these places, right? So it becomes another pothole for issues which could happen up, right? And also from a compliance perspective, right? What is socially relevant in a particular location to what is socially not relevant in another location will also differ from an organization to organization and from a candidate to a candidate perspective. So it changes a lot, but in totality, if you look at while and infra-security obviously plays an important part, but in totality, if you look at it, the benefits obviously outweigh the negatives from a totality perspective. And the more we mature in this media space, and the more the negatives will deteriorate after a period of time. So that is likely to happen.
Yes. It's pretty obvious that different social media platforms have unique features and cater to distinct audiences. Utilizing them effectively can enhance recruitment outcomes. For example, LinkedIn is often seen as the go-to for professional networking, while platforms like Twitter and Instagram can offer other valuable opportunities.
Yeah.
So it would be great if you could share insights on how to effectively use platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram for that matter, for recruiting purposes.
Okay. So let's look at a couple of them, right? As you started with LinkedIn. So let's, look at LinkedIn perspective, right? LinkedIn is a good place from a first talent attraction perspective, right? If you look at anybody to everybody is sitting today on LinkedIn, right? So, it is the right place where you can attract talent. You can reach out to passive talent or active talent via the in-mail approach which they have, right? It is, you get lot of great information about your competitors on the groups, about the organization. LinkedIn has a lot of tools which talk about the market intelligence. I think they have a tool called Talent Insights, a few other tools, which gives you a very good talent purview of what's sitting here from a talent perspective, and you can plan your recruiting strategies accordingly. So very effective tool as we move forward. So we should use it accordingly. Facebook, most cost effective, but more from an insight and engagement perspective as we move forward, right? It's more about what's happening, what's up there, and you can use it from a branding perspective. You also have employee speak and a lot of other places where you can use, Instagram up, a Facebook up. If you look at Instagram, right, it is very, it's more about initially Gen Z. Now everybody is on Instagram. So if you're not there on Instagram, then it's a problem for everybody. It's more about, it's a very target audience. It's more about, from an organization perspective, it's more about storytelling engagement. It's more about putting up what is there, what you stand from an organization perspective. Good place to have employee advocacy up, right? Uh, Twitter or X, now it's more about real-time feedback, what's happening with the brand, what's there, but very short-term perspective, right? You have YouTube, which is more from a branding, post engagement, post connect, what does your brand stand for, all of that. And if you are in technology, you have sites like GitHub, Stack Overflow, which talks about the person's ability to do coding and also showcase what the kind of work they do on a public forum, and people are reachable on these places. So as you know, all of these social medias have their plus points which they should be used for, right? And they have a very set target audience in some of these sites. So as an employer, we should use them and choose them effectively for the various activities which we want to bring to the table from an organization perspective. Those are my thoughts on this.
Okay. So, according to you, do you think that while hiring HR managers, they really go to the LinkedIn platform particularly, or it's like a 50% LinkedIn or 50% other traditional methods?
When they want to hire, they would basically look at, obviously, social media. They put that post up. What's the kind of talent pool they are looking at, right? So it really depends on that. So if I'm going to hire, I should know what are my target companies where I would get the talent pool from, and I would use quite a bit of LinkedIn from a hiring perspective, but I will also use other channels from a hiring perspective to attract in, right? It is not only about, putting the job postings up, but it is also about reeling in the right candidates in. So it really depends on the position, but then from a broader parlance perspective, LinkedIn is pretty effective when it comes from a hiring perspective.
Yeah. So in the crowded space of social media, the type of content you share can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Capturing the interest of talent means crafting strategic, I guess, eye-catching content that not only grabs attention, but also resonates deeply with your target audience. Yeah. So Aditya, what types of content do you think you find most effective in capturing the attention of top talent on social media platforms?
Yeah, so as they say, the employee value proposition should be up on these places. So one, your postings should be very engaging from an organization perspective. It needs to be very, very visually appealing. It should talk about what exactly you stand for, what is your culture. So it needs to be up there. It could be either a video, it could also be a document up, but it should talk about all of this, because today it's not only about the job for our candidate, it's all about the whole interwoven society that the individual will be walking into. So it's about the engagement, about the visual appeal, about the position, about the culture. And then, the other very big part nowadays is coming up is on the social media is about the employee testimonials about the organization where they're working. And it's very true and very authentic, instead of, your ready-made, videos about the organization, what individuals speaking about their experience, very authentic, and people can connect up with them and easily see the difference in their own career and watch them up, right?
Yeah.
That plays a huge part. And also, you have sites which give ratings, unbiased sites like Glassdoor, Google Reviews, and all of these places which talk about the organization, right? Also, the thought leadership which needs to be portrayed up from an organization perspective of what the leaders think, how what do they see the organization growing to be. It plays an important part. How do you also attract talent from your various contests, your coding contests, your hackathons, codathons? Where do they stand in, which plays a huge part from an organization perspective. And the last are, nowadays, a lot of events which organizations today are holding, a lot of podcast as we speak, or video cast. Some of these WebEx meetings just talk about the organization, talk about their perspective, plays an important part. So, these are some of those things which any prospective candidate would look at from an organization, because it gives them a good perspective of what they will walk into. So they would want to see the whole organization as a whole, and these are some of the pockets they would look at where organization can portray themselves.
Yeah, interesting. Now, shifting gears, how can recruiters measure the success of their social recruiting efforts? And Aditya, what metrics or KPIs do you think they should be tracking or using while in the process?
Yeah, recruiters have to be socially very active.
Yeah.
For that, you need to watch the organization from an engagement score of, if they're putting a post up, what are the number of likes, what has been shared, what's the number of clicks, which you can use tools to go ahead and see how many people have reshared those clicks, what's the kind of followers these people have on some of these places, because it's also about the depth of which direction the individual is about to impact. Recruiters will also have to play a part like what an influencer does from a org perspective. It's not only about hiring for that particular moment, but then at that moment of doing a long-term perspective of seeding about the organization in somebody else's mind. So, it's about their likes, the number of clicks they get, the number of followers they have. The other places which you can also look at in the same way is, the quality of applicants which you get from the social media. Obviously, when somebody looks at a job posting, and when you put up on their site, you can say, where did you hear it from? So you put up the social media site. So once you do analysis of number of onboards, you can see further deep down of saying that how many came from social media, how many came from directly from the market, and how many came. So that gives you a good perspective of what's the the split of the source of the CV. In that, what you can also add is time to hire, which will, if you feel that some of these places your time to hire was smaller, that talks about how effective your recruiter has been from a market standpoint perspective, how effectively they use employee referrals to ask them to put those postings up, how effectively do they use ad from a long-term fishing perspective is what I always tell in recruiting. Your right candidate doesn't get, you need to fish for them in the sea, and it takes a longer period of time. The last part, which is also a qualitative input, is the people whom you've hired from social media and all of these places, how long have they then stuck around in the organization? Because retention will play a huge part as we move from an long-term perspective. Because if you look at, and this is purely my perspective, if you look at long-term, organizations will now try and spend more time to moving talent within the organization than vis-a-vis hiring from market. So your internal mobility will play a huge part, and the recruiter itself will play a huge part of moving these people around. So hiring the right talent in, having from a long-term perspective, will also play an important part as we move forward.
So you have underscored the matrix that HRs should be using. Is there any particular matrix, according to you, that HRs should no longer use I mean, they are still using it, but since it's evolving, the entire scenario is evolving, they should kind of not use this particular metric or KPI. Is there one particular that you could highlight?
Yeah, so I think there's a tag of premier institutes. I think that we should shed that. We should just shed that off completely, of basically saying that the best candidate come in from the premier institute, because you put a posting up, and the right person walks in from an interview perspective with the right person in. So it's about hiring for the skill than hiring for anything else. So they need to get away from looking at premier institute, open it up for everybody else, and the right person gets job, as simple as that. So that's where I feel they need to get away from.
Yeah, true. So as technology and social media continue to evolve, so does the future of social recruiting. I guess staying ahead of trends and emerging platforms is vital for maintaining a competitive edge in talent acquisition. Looking ahead, what trends do you foresee in the future of social recruiting? And are there any emerging platforms or technologies that you believe will revolutionize the way we find talent?
Yeah, so there are, the first one is the most talked about is artificial intelligence and automation, and which will play an important part from an organization perspective, right? Depends on the need of the organization. If you need intervention when it comes to sourcing, then you need the right machine learning tool. If you need something from a screening perspective, you need the right NLP tool. If you're looking at using generative AI to make sure that automated response goes to the candidate at various levels, you need a very different tool. So there is a lot of coming together of technology, but it depends on the from an organization to organization, from a need to requirement perspective. One is that. The other one is video and multimedia, which will play a huge part from an organization perspective, talking about their brands, what do they stand for, what is the brand value they get in, and the insights which you get in from all of these, brands from social media. And we talked about those various social media platforms which can be uh, built in from a futuristic standpoint. It will become, you will need to get into a lot of these niche platforms, as in you need to know what works. If you're hiring for core tech, example, we spoke about GitHub, Stack Overflow, you should know where your talent pool lies, and using the right talent pool to attract the right talent inside from an organization perspective. Virtual and augmented reality will play a huge part. I think during COVID, we realized it and we started using it very effectively. The best example in a lot of organizations is when they were virtually onboarding people in the organization. So the more usage of all of this will play a huge part. Remote working will be another huge part of getting things delivered anywhere to everywhere, will play an important part. Data analytics in recruiting to give you a predictive view of what's the kind of persona you require from an organization perspective of futuristic standpoint, and also looking at historical data to plan recruiting strategies will also play an important part. So the recruiters will have to have some intelligence on being an end user of tools like Power BI, Tableau, and moving them around, of making the right intelligent move. And DNI
Yes.
will play a huge part. It's the most critical part, and it depends on which geography you are in, will play a huge part, because as simple as that, I think the core part of diversity is that people need to really understand why do we need a diverse workforce, and it's as simple as that. I'll give you an example. The way I am wired, the way you are wired, we are two different people, and if we have one singular boss, we will give him or her two different perspective, and it's up to her or him to decide what's the right perspective. If you and I are wired similarly, we'll not give the right outcome back. So so DNI will play a huge part, as we are already moving into the futuristic standpoint. So these are some of those things which I feel will change the realm of talent acquisition in the future.
Yes, Aditya, you have addressed all our questions. I'm sure our listeners will be highly benefited from your response. Now, we have come to the end of today's podcast. Do you have any final thoughts or message you'd like to share with our listeners? They would really appreciate hearing it from you. Additionally, I'm sure our audience will want to stay in touch with you post this podcast. So could you share how they can reach out to you?
Yeah, so My only thinking is only point of view to if employers and candidates listening in is I think you focus on building your softer skills, things like adaptability, emotional intelligence, cognitive flexibility, collaboration, critical thinking, resilience. I think these will play a huge part as we move forward. These are the softer skills which people need to build upon from a futuristic standpoint. The harder skills have a very low shelf life, and it's very difficult. Once you adapt to once something else comes up. But these softer skills, which I spoke about, will play a huge part as we move forward. And yeah, if anything else, I am reachable on my LinkedIn handle, which is posted up there. So you can feel free to reach out to me directly.
Great. Thank you so much, Aditya, for joining in today's episode. It was incredible to have you. And thank you for sharing your insights. Thanks a lot, Aditya.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.